After studying about the pollination and its types, we will now study a problem that is associated with the self-pollination, that is, inbreeding depression. Now, what does this term mean? Inbreeding depression is a problem that occurs due to continuous self-pollination within a plant. That gives rise to disruption of the spores that are formed due to pollination. That is, the spores that are formed due to breeding gets disrupted gradually. Now, inbreeding depression that occurs due to continuous self-pollination is a problem that has to be avoided. For this, various devices have been proposed. There are mainly four. In order to avoid this problem, that is inbreeding depression, mainly four devices occur. First, cross-pollination. The term only suggests its definition, that is, the pollination or the transfer of pollen that takes place between two different plants can avoid such a situation of self-pollination and thereby inbreeding depression. The second situation or the second device can be defined as prevention of autogamy. Autogamy, as described earlier, is a type of self-pollination in which the transfer of pollen takes place from the anther of a same plant to the stigma of the same one. Such a prevention of autogamy generally occurs in dichogamous plants. Dichogamous plants can be defined as the plants in which the pollen release from the anther and the reception or the receptive surface of stigma do not occur in synchronization. That is, their activity do not occur simultaneously. So, in this method, it is very essential to prevent autogamy. That is, in these plants, either the pollen is released before and the stigma then becomes receptive, or on the contrary, the stigma initially becomes receptive and then the release of pollen occurs. Therefore, in this manner, the synchronization between these two do not occur simultaneously. And therefore, in order to avoid self-pollination in such plants, the anther and stigma of the plant of the same plant is placed at different position so that the pollen cannot come in direct contact with it. And therefore, in this manner, the autogamy can be prevented. Such a method of dichemistry is the flower of the plant primula. This figure describes the flower of primula in which the autogamy is prevented. As it can be seen from the figure, within the same flower, the anther and stigma are located or placed differently from one another, due to which the autogamy is prevented. Then comes the third device, self-incompatibility. Self-incompatibility is a type of genetic mechanism that prevents the pollen transfer from the same flower or different flower but of the same plant. Due to which the fertilization of ovules can be inhibited by inhibiting the pollen interaction with the stigma. And that is why in this manner self-pollination can be avoided, resulting in the prevention of inbreeding depression. Due to inhibition of pollen interaction, the pollen germination and thereby the pollen tube growth in the pistil can also be avoided. Such a type of mechanism generally occurs in plants like malva. This figure depicts the self-incompatibility mechanism within the malva plant. As you can see that due to genetic mechanism, the pollen tube formation is rejected or the growth of pollen tube does not occur due to inhibition of pollen germination. Then the fourth and the final device in order to avoid self-pollination is production of unisexual flowers. As stated earlier, that within bisexual flowers only the process of self-pollination occurs, and thereby avoiding the bisexual production and producing unisexual flowers also helps in preventing the self-pollination process, and that is by inhibiting the inbreeding depression. Now production of unisexual flowers can occur in both, that is monoecious plant and dioecious plant. Now question arises that in case of monoecious plants, if and how self-pollination can be avoided. Here self-pollination cannot be completely avoided because in monoecious plants, example castor and maize, as said earlier that monoecious plants are the plants in which the both sexual organs, that is of male and female, are present within the same plant. But by the production of unisexual flowers in such plants, the male and female sexual organs can be produced on the same plant but of different flowers, and thereby in such plants the autogamy can be prevented. But the another method of self-pollination, that is geitonogamy, cannot be prevented, because geitonogamy is a process of self-pollination in which the pollination between two flowers of the same or different plant, that is different flowers of the same plant, can occur, and thereby this method cannot prevent complete self-pollination in case of monoecious plant. But in case of dioecious plants, like papaya, since unisexual flowers are produced in entirely different plants, thereby autogamy and geitonogamy both can be prevented. And thus the production of unisexual flowers is comparatively more suitable in dioecious plants as that of the monoecious plant. These four devices that we have studied till now in order to avoid the inbreeding depression are known as outbreeding device. That is the devices or the methods used to avoid inbreeding depression caused by self-pollination can be avoided.